Sunny Silver Linings wasn't just an event, it was a moment of clarity. We came together to share ideas, challenge perspectives, and focus on what truly matters: people, purpose, and progress. From meaningful conversations to powerful insights, Sunny Silver Linings reminded us that even in change, there's opportunity. This is how we move forward together. Here's a look back at some of our favorite moments from 2025.
Entrepreneurial greatest lesson.
Well, there's a lot. Always be learning, be opening to listen, talk to people like yourselves and people like me, just anywhere you go. There's no magic secrets in this industry. So having open, honest conversation, you don't have to reinvent wheels in our industry, which is the great thing about our industry. When I think back through the 5 years of leading and running TechMD before it was bought by Integris, my biggest mistake was not moving quick enough on certain hard decisions, right? Just trying to surround folks with, other resource and, just trying to avoid the inevitable. And almost always when you make the hard decisions, things just kind of fall in place and your next set of growth happens.
There's a great quote by David Marquet, the author of Turn the Ship Around, which is, fix processes, not people. Okay. None of us are qualified to fix people. We don't have degrees in that. But so many leaders think they're going to fix the people and that will solve the problems. If we have good data, we'll understand the source of the problem, we'll be able to attack it in a non-emotional way, and we'll fix the process, and then things run better. So get the emotion off the table and let your smart people attack the data and come up with solutions for you instead of attacking the people. You're always going to have better results when you get the emotions off the table, and that's what good data allows you to do.
Yeah. That goes back to the mature companies rely on, immature companies rely on rock stars, mature companies rely on rock star processes. The idea that you have to pay somebody 50% more because they need to figure out how to do everything versus that we figured it out. Here's how it's done. Any competent person can do it. It makes a giant difference in the company.
When it comes to look for right candidates, what is the number one thing that you want them to look for?
Well, the thing I find that most MSPs lose sight of, they might build the greatest culture in the world. They got to be consistently profitable. And, I don't think Kevin or Jake's going to look at anybody that's got the Disney culture if they're losing money. You've got to run a profitable company and it's got to be consistent and it's got to be growing. And so that's where I think a lot of MSPs kind of lose sight of what they're trying to accomplish. And on the buy side, certainly EBITDA is a huge consideration, and the size of that EBITDA bucket matters significantly to a buyer because it's as much work to integrate a small company as a large company in a lot of ways. And so, it's important that you're looking for companies that can make an impact in your organization, because integration is the hardest part of the whole process.
What really turned me into an entrepreneur is that I was a really bad employee. And I realized that in order to succeed, I needed to have my own company. And I think that there's probably a similar story there with many of your subscribers, many of the people in the MSP channel, that they probably work for some other IT company, and somewhere along the way, for whatever reason, they decided that they could do things better on their own. They could make more money on their own. Whatever it was, they weren't fully invested in working for someone else, and they decide to hang out their own shingle. And that's what I did.
I call them incidental entrepreneurs.
There you go. So that's what I decided to do. It was years later, and this software called Kaseya, which would allow me to do 10 times more work, support 10 times as many clients. And I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm not doing that. I'll go broke.
But the analogy that we are using internally is that AI is an exoskeleton, much like Iron Man. Iron Man is a normal human, but he's got this fancy exoskeleton that makes him a superpower, right? A superhuman. That's how we see AI. It is a complement to a person, not a replacement for a person. And it's only a threat to people who don't embrace it. Now, long term, your guess is as good as mine. There's a chance that you and I are going to be like sitting on a boat, on universal basic income, trying to figure out how how the world's going to work in 10 years. But as of now, those that embrace it, whether you're from a business perspective, if you're an MSP or if you're a content creator or a technician, if you embrace AI and leverage AI, you become incredibly valuable, incredibly powerful, and incredibly impactful to everyone you work with. And that's how people have to think of it.
The conversations that you're having, the reviews of proposals, the follow-up that you're doing, that's meetings, the business reviews, that's where the sales rep now can spend their time. And AI is making it easier for them to spend time with more people because it's making them more efficient in the administrative activities that are behind it and analyzing what will work best.
Now, how are you thinking about the role of AI in the cybersecurity space?
Yeah, it's a loaded question, right? Because AI means so many different things and can have a lot of impact. I think, from a Threat Locker perspective, we're careful. We want to be careful in how we utilize AI and how we rely on AI and what we expect AI to do for us, right? There's a lot in the industry where AI is just going to solve all of our problems. And if we just use AI, it's all going to be better. To me, it's falling back into kind of the old method, of technology and security, where we're wanting the machine to decide if something that's going on is good or bad. Right. And there are some things that obviously it can do that on, but there are some things that are not inherently bad every time that they occur, but they could be bad.
If there's one word that sums it up, it is impact. Think about how we can make a measurable impact for a customer. And if that's successful, that creates a growth loop for you. It's just that simple. Make impact, build trust, get to make another impact. And I think that's what I call the growth loop. That's what's absolutely missing in our space. It definitely needs some technology, which obviously ScalePad has an answer for, to help run these programs. But it's more important than buying anything from ScalePad. It's more just like having an aha moment. Very similar to what I said with documentation. I don't care if you buy IT glue or not, but can we agree that this is a significant issue? And if you have another better way to solve it, please do. But let's solve it, because it's better for the industry. If we solve this, SMBs are going to grow. If SMBs grow, MSPs are going to grow. And all of us, that service MSPs are going to grow as well.
But it can also mean, what are the opportunities that we're missing out on because we're not paying attention to this thing? And it's just so key and so core to the health of a business. And the thing is, it's also one of the easiest things to automate and put on autopilot. And you just, just automate that happy path around it and focus on the few things that go wrong, and have your people, who I'm sure are much more competent and smarter than required to just press buttons to process payments, go do really high value things for them and for you and for your customers. So that's what we're trying to do here. It's the simplest thing is automate cash flow, but it should have a massive impact on everyone when it's done right.
To attach a value to a business has a lot of variables. And so for one thing, you've got the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And so there's certain aspects of the business that might be more attractive to one group than another group, which will hence create a variability in the offer.
So I think what you have to do as an entrepreneur with your finances and your business is be flexible and seek professional advice, because things are changing. Tax laws are changing. The markets are moving. Interest rates are going to change in the next couple of years. There's just a lot of things happening. And especially if you're serving clients that are not just in our country, but in other countries, you have to be aware of these things.
But the other thing that I highly, highly recommend in every aspect of life, but especially in this aspect, is join at least 2 credible peer groups. Not the ones that waste your time, but the ones that actually take you to the next level. There is so much power in sitting down with people, your peers that have done this, that are 4, 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of you. It doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how many podcasts you listen, how many things you do. The power of a peer on you and the way it plays on your subconscious is unbeatable.
Revenue is vanity. Profits are sanity, and cash flow is the reality, right?
Yeah, no, it's all about cash flow, right? It's all about cash flow. And the funny thing, I think, in the landscape is people, again, because we're technologists from an MSP perspective, we forget about revenue, we forget about cash flow, we forget about profitability. And there's literally, in my perspective, no other tool in the market that can affect your financial statements more than our solution. And we can help you get paid faster. We can accelerate cash flow, and the onboarding and time to value is actually very, very short. So, there's a tremendous amount of low-hanging fruit here across the entire industry, which we're really excited about.
We've been talking about this for the better part of 20 years. That, when businesses don't have, when the business leader has a challenge, it says, I need to figure out how to do this, how to automate this, how to do this better. They don't typically go to IT, because IT is they're the people who just keep the stuff running. And that's our opportunity. That's our future. Is that the more that becomes commoditized in the service space, the more we're going to leave room for the very, very high value services where we're transforming business. But the problem with that is that we're not good at transforming business. We're not good at leading change. We're not good at understanding how all of those pieces fit together. And we have to be better at that. It's a different mindset, different skill sets, than we've had in IT. But that's the future, is that IT should be the one leading the charge, in business change.
Thank you for watching Sunny's Silver Linings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.